G'day Reefers, I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Thanks for watching Gallery Aquatica TV. Today we're back at Splashback Reef. We're going to give you an update and show you the fish that we've added, the corals that we're going to glue in place, and we've got one special little creature which we're going to add as well. So let's check out the tank and we'll show you Splashback Reef. So we haven't filmed at Splashback Reef for a few weeks now, and the last time that we were here, we were gluing in this large colony of Dallas acropora. But we have actually added some other things since we filmed here last. So let's have a look at the new fish that we've added. So we've added a school of Dispar anthias, and Dispar anthias are a really beautiful little fish, and they're great because they occupy a lot of height in the tank. Given this is a 4-foot high tank, it's very important that we've got fish which are going to swim high in the tank. But something about anthias in general, but particularly Dispar anthias, is that they always do best when they're fed multiple feeds per day. And so we're going to install an automatic fish feeder so that we can ensure that these fish are getting sufficient food. So we've already been feeding this tank the Formula 2 marine pellets by Ocean Nutrition, and the fish particularly like them. And we're going to use the Eheim automatic fish feeder, and we'll set this up so that we can feed about 3 or 4 feeds per day of the Ocean Nutrition pellets into the tank. Okay, and I always do a test run to ensure that we've got the right amount of feed. And that's about right. We're only looking at a small feed. That's exactly where I want it. Okay. Done. So something that we've noticed since the last time we were here is the tank has developed a little bit of a problem algae outbreak, and so we're just going to spend a little bit of time going over the algae, removing as much as possible with a toothbrush. So I'm not too worried about this algae. I actually put it down to the fact that the skimmer over-skimmed a couple of times this week, and so the extra nutrients in the system have probably just caused this to come up. But I think that we need to look at our cleanup crew in this system. We have quite a few stroms and the sand is nice and clean, but I like to have trochus, and we'll probably add another 5 or 10 trochus, which will help to keep this algae under control a bit better in the future. So we have a really special little creature for this tank today, and we're going to add a red line cleaner shrimp. Now, shrimp are particularly susceptible to changes in their salinity, so I'm going to acclimate him into the tank with our dripper, and I'm going to do it over quite a long period of time. I'm planning to take about an hour to slowly acclimate this guy into the tank. So we put a little bit of the macroalgae, the keto, in the bag with the shrimp, just so that, oh look at that, There's an isopod. That could even be a parasitic isopod. I'll get him out. There's some species of isopod that actually will parasitize fish, and they look very similar to this, and it's interesting because they're a relatively large parasite, and sometimes they'll attach themselves onto little damsels or things like that, and you have this massive parasitic isopod hanging on the side of a damsel. So I won't put him in the tank. He's going in the bin, I'm afraid. But anyway, as I was saying, we add this macroalgae just so that the red line cleaner shrimp has got something to hang on to when he's in the bag on the way here. And we'll just turn down the flow of this. My aim will be to triple the volume of water over the next hour or so. So now we're going to start to look at where we're going to glue all of these corals which have just been placed on the substrate, where we're going to glue them into the tank. And there's a few SPS like the Parietes, there's a Monty, and there's a few things which I'm going to put high in the tank. So I'll start with those because they'll be the easy ones and I won't have to get in the tank to glue them. So we'll start off with those ones. So these are the tools that we're going to be using. Obviously we need to pick up the corals, so we're going to use our long-handled rubbers and my favourite Ecotech coral glue. Alright, so plating Montipora. So it looks like it's a nice red. So somewhere where it can grow out and continue, somewhere like that actually, because we want it to plate out, to grab onto other bits of rock around there, but also not to shade anything too much. I think this is probably the perfect spot for it. Otherwise, this might be a little bit better in that we can be sure that it's not going to shade anything. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'll put it right on the edge. Just gives it that little bit more space. That'll be a nice easy one to start. Okay, so a dollop. This is another plating slash scrolling Montipora. So again, I want this high in the tank and hopefully it is going to scroll. So I might actually put it over here where I was thinking of the other one. Do that directly under a light. It also will look good from the front, nice and high. Another easy one. With the scrolling and plating Montiporas, it's very important to consider where it's going to grow and so that you can really appreciate the growth form. It's the best thing about Montipora is they have these really beautiful growth forms. So we've got was it Pavona maldivensis, I think it is. And so they're a really beautiful shape. They're a nice bright orange. I typically like to give them a medium amount of light. So this will be one of the deeper corals that I'll put in without getting in the tank. I like the idea of it being near this Dallas. Keep it a bit of an SBS shelf. Alright. I'll put it here for now. With most of these corals we can move them if we ever need to. This is it. So, alright, that's it. It's always good to try a few different places because you definitely want to have the right spot for the right piece. And so I'm happy with this spot because it suits that light criteria. Didn't want it to be too high in the tank, but it also looks very natural in the way it's perched there. And not a real easy spot to put another coral. So this is where it's going. So the contact right there. So it's important to remember where the piece is going. So now that we've positioned all of the corals which are in the top half of the tank, it's time to do the corals in the bottom half of the tank. So I'm going to need my mask and my board shorts. So I'll just get ready and I'll jump in the tank. So we've turned off the return pump and the tank has drained down about, I'm going to guess around about 200 or 300 litres, which should safely allow for the displacement that me being in the tank is going to create. It's the first day of spring. No, the third day of spring. It should be warmer by now. So these platygyra are great in low light areas. So I'm going to take advantage of that and I'm going to try and put that on one of the low rocks as far as I can reach. So now I'm just spinning around and it's actually the hardest part of everything, just trying to spin myself around and get in under this section. So I've run out of glue, I've got glue on my fingers, but I've done most of the corals that really needed to be done from inside the tank. So I'll just get up and clean up a few other bits and pieces and then have a look at where all the corals are and how they're looking. So, I forgot to get myself a clean towel. The only towel I've got. It's got coral and stuff all over it. So the last thing we're going to do is introduce our red line cleaner shrimp. And I'm going to try and catch him with my hand because I want to escort him into the rockwork so I feel secure. Now the risk of course is that they can jump, but if you're slow and careful, it's actually the best way. Such a beautiful little shrimp. Perfect. He looks comfortable in there already. So I've just been downstairs and I've turned the return pump back on, so we've got some flow in the tank, but I'm about to turn the wave maker back on, and what I'm most worried about is some of the corals might be a little bit precariously glued and might be in a position where they could fall over. So I'll turn it back on and then we'll check out our work. As you can see, the tank is still cloudy. I stirred up the sand a little bit, just having my feet in there, and I also used the scraper just to level out the sand so that it'll clear up. But looking at the corals, I'm very happy with their position. It looks like everything is safe and secure. The Duncan was the thing I was most worried about falling over, and it hasn't fallen over with the wave maker. So I think we're all good. So that's our update for today. Splashback Reef is doing really well, and we'll bring you more updates on this tank as well as other tanks that we look after in future episodes of Gallery Aquatica TV. So thanks for watching and happy reefing! So that's our video for today. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe as well. We'll be putting out videos every week showing a new tank with new products. There's going to be lots in all the videos. I'm Cam the Fish Guy, and keep on reefing.